So the question that I get asked more than, Carol, how are you? Nice to see you. I hope you're having a great day. The question I get asked the most is, Carol, can I get a feature in Inc. magazine tomorrow? Hey, I'd love it if you could talk to my client about blank blank. She just started a company in blank blank. Can you get it to Entrepreneur magazine on Friday? And I sit around and I just do my thumbs up and I ignore most of these emails. And I will say this happens more frequently via email and on LinkedIn more than anywhere else. Because, look, I make no apologies or no lies. I have been a contributor for Forbes. I have been featured in Forbes. I've been written about by Forbes. I have been in Entrepreneur Magazine, and I have been a contributor for Entrepreneur Magazine. I am currently a contributor for Inc. Magazine. I have given talks for Inc. Magazine, and I have been covered by Inc. Magazine. So I have it from both spectrums. I have been in it, and I have covered for them, and I have been somewhat of an expert for almost every major high authority publication out there. However, let me be honest with you. If you pitch to contributors 9 out of 10 times, you're not going to get a response back. And I'm going to share with you how to be able to make this happen for yourself today, because I always feel as though those of you who specifically are always asking contributors how they can actually navigate a meeting for you to get an introduction to an editor to get into the magazine, or if you want to know why it is you've been pitching forever and ever and ever and they're not responding, the thing is you want to figure out how to be able to get there. I want to really give you the answer, because I think that sometimes, a lot of times, us as contributors, we could be very vague in giving you an answer because every contributor's journey is different. But there's one specific thing that every contributor has in common, that this is the one tool that works, where the others, every one of us has a different experience with getting in. So let me just share my experience. I built a very successful real estate business, and I had been on the speaking circuit for a long time. I navigated a lot of relationships, and before I knew it, I think in 2017, Forbes had actually covered me as one of the top diversity and inclusion experts for that year. I didn't even know that was coming. So I woke up one morning and it was like, ta-da! And my name is in Forbes. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I'm honored by the surprise coverage. I didn't even know. And they referenced a whole bunch of things, including my TED talk and some other stuff, and the fact that I had been on the Steve Harvey Show. And so I kind of like was surprised by it, and I kind of thought it was a one and done kind of thing. A few months later, one of the contributors that read the article had known that I had been doing real estate, and so he contacts me and says, I would like to cover you for a financial piece. I do it, and I forgot completely about the interview. I had been so busy in other things. Months had gone by. I hadn't heard back from him. I never really followed up, and it's kind of my fault. Subsequently, I wake up one morning and in Forbes, I am mentioned again talking about real estate and investing. I was like, oh my gosh. And then a few months later, I get an email from Forbes, and the rest is kind of history. Something similar has happened with me getting into Entrepreneur. I'd actually written some stuff, they found some stuff. Next thing you know, I'm writing for Entrepreneur, but I had been mentioned in Entrepreneur the year before on an article that talks about the best places to work outside of an office. Same thing with Inc. I had been a keynote speaker at Inc. magazine. I came down off the stage. I hadn't really thought about writing for Inc. because by this point I had already had my Forbes catalog, I'd already had my Entrepreneur magazine catalog, so I didn't really need anything else. I was like, I don't have any more, like I have no more hands to give you to write any more content. But hey, you called, you said, let's do it. And I said let's go. And the next thing you know, I'm in all three publications at the same time. Subsequently, I kind of left Forbes alone. I kind of left Entrepreneur alone. And I have a huge catalog with Inc. Magazine right now and looking to expand a little bit more into others. The thing that writing for top authority magazines and publications has given me, and the benefit it has given me in my lifetime, is it has given me limitless possibilities to be booked on some of the biggest stages around the world. I have had the opportunity to go, instead of going in front of 500 people, I have had the opportunity to speak to 100,000 people at one point. So with that kind of exposure opens up so many other opportunities that you're able to really expose yourself to your ideal target market. And it gives you so much brand credibility that if you were to really look at how much your brand is worth, I can sell this brand for a disclosed amount of money, and it will be something that'll be self-sustaining. So I want to talk to you about, if this is a journey you want to take. I'm going to, before I even get into some steps that I know that you should take to get into a top authority publication, but if this is the journey you want to take, please understand the journey to getting in is not monolithic. There's no monolith to this. You have to understand every contributor's experience is different. And it's different because every contributor has a different, unique point in what they write. These are called bylines, meaning one contributor might be an expert in construction, right? I'm just taking Forbes, for example. One contributor might be an expert in construction. Another one might be an expert in marketing. The other one might be an expert in diversity and inclusion. So they have been found because of their expertise. So if you don't have an expertise and you're trying to like figure out how to get in, and you can't figure out how to get in, the thing is you probably have no byline. So basically you're not going to get in. So you have to figure out, what is your expertise? How are you going to be able to navigate this? Because no two contributors has the same experience. So there's no monolithic way to get in. There's no, if you pitch to the company website, then they're going to respond. It's kind of not how it happens. A lot of editors in different parts of the publication are looking for top authority experts just like you, but you have to be in it to win it. So let me talk about the one thing you need to do before I get into the other three. The one thing that you need to do to get into any top authority magazine or publication, to get your own catalog going. Because if you're looking to be a top authority expert, be recognized by the media, if you want to get on talk shows, if you want to get into high publications like the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, things like that, if you want to be on radio, regular radio, not like blog talk radio, if you want to be on regular radio, FM, AM stations, if you want to do all of that, it is great to have this catalog behind you. And you're going to understand why it's so necessary and why I have been doing it for so many years. It's not something that I can ever say I will ever give up, because it has opened so many doors for me in my life, including getting on the Today Show, including getting on Steve Harvey, including getting mentioned by the New York Times, including being mentioned by Harvard University. This is how I got through. So the one thing you need to remember is this. You wanna know what the main secret is? You gotta freaking write. Like, I don't understand how people are like, well, Carol, can you help me get to learn an editor so I can start writing for Inc. magazine? Do you have any content out there? No, no. You gotta write. You've got to actually write. So you have got to be able to write. If you're not writing a blog on your own blog, my advice to you is today, start a Medium blog or start something on LinkedIn. But no matter what, a writer has to write. A writer has to write. And even if this is not a career thing for you, please understand why this is important. Today, this is 2020. Content is king. Content is cash. Content matters. So who is reading may not be who's watching. Who's watching may not be who's reading, but who's reading may be a decision maker at something you want to do. So you don't want to miss out on this because you're like, oh, I didn't want to write because I just want to write for Forbes. Well, you got to write something in order for Forbes to find you, because this is about writing. You got to write. So stop being so freaking lazy. Go to medium.com, go to linkedin.com, or on your LinkedIn profile, step your game up on your summary on LinkedIn and start publishing content. Duh. You can't write without writing. Start there. The most idiotic thing I've ever seen. When people want me to cover them and say, or introduce them to an editor so they can get their own blog in one of these publications, of which you can make that introduction, more than likely they will not respond because you didn't write nothing. You gotta write something. So write something, write consistently, but write something. I didn't get into at least Entrepreneur Magazine until I had written the first 260 articles on LinkedIn. You can click off this video right now, go to LinkedIn, and see that you'll still see 240 some odd articles still up on LinkedIn. That's how I got started. When I got to 1 million views on LinkedIn through articles, it didn't start at 1 million, it started at one and then it went to two. And then eventually by article number 55, I got to maybe 300. And by the 100th article, I was clearing 1 million views because I consistently wrote. And then the reason why there was 260 some odd at the time that I got into entrepreneur versus now is because I've sold a lot of that content. So it's no longer available for your view, but it's been featured in major New York Times best-selling books, my content. But you gotta write. You gotta write. Like, you can't be a writer without writing, right? So start. Start on LinkedIn, start on Medium, but start today. If you're not writing, please do yourself a favor. Don't go through the insulting process of contacting a contributor or even an editor who is not going to respond because you're not writing. You've actually got to write the content, honey. What are you going to do? Wait until you get the yes to get into the publication to start writing? And then the editors have to go back and forth with you because you don't know how to write according to their style? Start writing. Start getting into the habit of writing. Again, content is king in 2020. Content is cash. I have booked more paid everything, paid consultations, paid media appearances, paid speaking gigs, all off of writing. I haven't had to pitch in years. And when people say to me, well, who do I pitch to speak at this? And who do I pitch to speak at that? How about you use your own words and you don't have to pitch anymore? Just write it. Start writing. Medium and LinkedIn are free. I don't understand how you could become a writer if you're not writing anything. So start writing. That's the main thing you have to actually start doing. The next thing you got to start doing is cover things that are not just about yourself. I think that a lot of thought leaders that ask to get featured in these publications are self-absorbed, and that's probably the reason I don't respond. It's self-absorbed. I have done, I can do, me. And you're not even thinking about the reader. You just want the accolade of saying you've been in ink so badly that you start all of your sentences in first person. And I'm here to tell you, that's a no-no. Me, and I have done, I am the best. Like, you can't, no. What's in it for the reader? The reader is not interested in your experience. The reader is interested in your expertise. Experience and expertise are two different things. So if you're writing a little blog that has something to do with, let's just say, your expertise around, I don't know, building laptops. Talk about your expertise, but your experience is where your eyes come in. So you can use your expertise in the article, and then you can turn around and say, well, when I did it, this is the accomplishment that I achieved from it. Most of the articles that people pitch me, especially those of you who like to send me these long inbox messages of things that you think that I'm going to cover, the reason I don't answer is because you start with I am an entrepreneur and I'm fabulous and I talk about style and I do fashion, and people tell me all the time, what's in it for my reader? My readers is who I'm concerned about. The 6.1 million people who read my content every week, they're the people I'm concerned about. I'm not concerned about you and your fashion. And that's the reason why contributors don't respond, is because you're pitching toward yourself because they can tell you just want that accolade behind you. Meanwhile, we, the people who actually write the stuff or the people who actually introduce you to the editor, we're concerned about our readers. We are thinking about what do our readers need to read every single day, and we are actually self-absorbed with the reader. So be concerned with the reader. What does the reader need to learn from your expertise? And then you can incorporate your experiences into the content so the expertise stands out. You need to learn how to master that particular part of it. If you don't think that you can do this, do yourself a favor. Go to this step, and this is step number 3. Take step number 3 and then place it in step number 2. In the event that you don't know how to really convey this, step number 3, go and read the publication cover to cover every single time. On Inc., there's articles coming out every single day. Entrepreneur articles coming out every single day. Forbes, there's articles coming out every single day. Business Insider every single day. Read it so you understand the difference between the I syndrome and the experience. Because when writers write, we are worried about not including ourselves. We're selfless. We're giving content because we are giving it away so that our reader can have a transformational experience based on our expertise. So read the content. Please do yourself a favor. One of the biggest insults I see is when someone hopefully pitches and says, Carol, can you help me get into entrepreneur? I am a, and they go on, and I'm like, did you read my byline? Because I don't cover. Like the other day, somebody pitched something to me about covering Bitcoin. My byline is about covering women in diversity and leadership. Where the heck do you get Bitcoin from? Because you gotta read what I write to be able to pitch to me so that I can, you understand? You gotta read it. Don't just be so selfish about yourself. Read the content before you pitch it to somebody, and just make yourself more and more versed and well versed in what kind of content they cover. Because I'm going to be honest with you, it's not universal. And this is going to be my last point to you. Make sure you understand that that universal pitch that you put out to every one of these top authority publications, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Step number 4, write a pitch that has to deal with the publication, not about yourself. Meaning, people will send me the same pitch they just sent Forbes and they just sent Entrepreneur. It's like, really? It's not a one size fits all. And it's not, you have to really put yourself in a position where it's like, you know what one publication covers versus the other. You don't just want to be in high authority magazines because it's just something to do. It is literally about you knowing that that one size fits all or that one pitch fits all does not work. If you really consistently keep sending over the same pitch, time after time again, I promise you they will ignore you. They will not even respond to you. And then eventually you become spam, and eventually you will be blacklisted. Stop sending over the one size fits all. You have to send over something that's more individualistic, something that is you wrote specifically for that publication based on something. I'll even give you a small clue on how to get that done. Let's say you read one of my bylines. Let's just say you read an article that I recently wrote. One of my biggest articles on Inc. magazine is about the 7 people who are going to make you a millionaire today. Right? You can go in my, I think I wrote it in 2018. 7 people who are going to make you a millionaire today. Let's say you took that article and you expanded on it. Carol Sankar wrote an article, 7 people that are going to make you a millionaire today. Well, here are 10 more people that I believe will be a great inclusion in that list. That's the way you create more value, because you created it off of something that already worked. Don't try to be like, I have the formula to make a millionaire. Nah, please. Like, nobody's reading that, okay? Please don't do yourself a favor. Don't do it. No, because that probably has been covered a million times. You have to read the publication. Don't be so lazy, because here's the thing. What I get very upset about ambitious thinkers for is that because they've been getting through and getting ahead and getting by doing things in an average way all this time, they've gotten to a point of settling for average, and so they don't go above and beyond and really kind of rethink this whole thing through. They're used to that average pitch, that average email, that, like, when you really want to do something that's above average, you got to think that through a little bit differently than that. And I'm going to leave you with this. And I'm finished with my points, but I'm going to leave you with this. If you don't think you're a good writer and you think you're a good speaker, you can always use talk to text, right? You don't have to actually sit down and write. Like, I do write with my hands, but that's me and my style. But you can actually talk to text. There's like a little function on like Google Docs, and you can like click on the voice recorder and it will put everything on the screen for you, and then you can just edit. So if you don't think you're a good writer and you think you're a good wordsmith and you just don't have that kind of time, stop limiting yourself to saying, I'm not a good writer, so I'm not going to go out and write. As I said before when I first began, content is king right now. Content pays. I have had more plane tickets in first class, celebrity interviews, conversations, consulting, corporate clients. Oh, did I mention high 5-figure speaking gigs, high 6-figure speaking gig potential, just off of content? You're missing this. because you want to be just sitting around and pitching and then thinking because you pitched and they said no, that there's no need to do this again. Oh, move frere, try again. But try by adding the steps that I just told you. But the number one step you have to add is to start writing. Like, that's crazy. That's cray cray. You cannot do this without writing. You cannot. So start writing. Make 2020 the year you start focusing on writing and developing a cadence so that your writing skills get to the top of the list when it comes to top authority publications. Those publications are going to open doors that pitching could never, ever do. Start writing.